Welcome back, everyone. This is part 2 for this news report for today for Friday, August 2nd, 2013. I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.net, and my YouTube channels are ddarko2012, and my backup channel is ddarko2013. Alright, I'm ready to go here. I'm going to cover social engineering. And first article or theme I have, or story, is Russia and how they're spinning it in the West, right? I mean, this was definitely set up from the beginning. I mean, I didn't even know that they're hosting the Olympics, but now that I know, it's just like, yeah, I could see this. If I would have known before, I would have saw this coming a mile away. Russia says anti-gay law will apply to Olympians. Violators will be held accountable, could face arrest for deportation. So, Olympics out of Russia. So, Russia's sports minister has said the country's law banning homosexual propaganda will be in full effect during the 2014 Olympics and their country, and will apply to foreign athletes. No one is forbidding a sportsman with a non-traditional sexual orientation to come there, they said, but if he goes out on the street and starts to propagandize it, then of course he will be held accountable. That after the International Olympic Committee assured athletes last week that the legislation will not affect those attending or taking part in the games, says Muko's comments seem to undermine that claim. So I guess my take is if that's their law. I mean, he's saying that you can participate in it, but if you're going to go out there and use it as some kind of political forum, then don't go to the games. Otherwise, just go and play sports and don't turn it into a political football or whatever. Here you go. Here's a good example. I'll read this and move on. The law forbids speaking about homosexuality around minors and bans gay public displays of affection, including hand-holding and symbols. Violators face fine, arrest, and even deportation. These symbols include the rainbow pin. New Zealand gay speed skater Blake whatever has promised to wear at the games. He was reported saying, "If that gets me in trouble, then so be it. This is me standing up for what I believe in." So these are very intolerant people. This is what I wanted to point out here. Very intolerant people. They talk about diversity, but they have no respect when they go to someone else's place that's different from their own. LGBT activists should back Russia anti-gay laws to celebrate diversity. American Family Association Director of Issues Analysis Brian Fisher this week called on the LGBT activists to celebrate diversity by supporting Russia's law banning propaganda of non-traditional sexual relations. So Fisher explained on the radio, you can be gay, but you can't promote it anywhere in public in Russia. Says you have some Olympic athlete comes to Russia, he is an active homosexual and he wants to do something to promote his lifestyle. We're going to lock him up, we're going to arrest him, we're going to detain him. We're not going to put up with that in Russia. We have standards against this sort of thing. There was a Russian sports minister. Fisher added that the LGBT activists really believed, if they really believed in multiculturalism, they believed in celebrating diversity, that they were all about celebrating the wonder of diverse cultures all over the world, then they would be excited about this. I saw this article, if a gay athlete gets arrested at the Olympics, shit is going to hit the fan. So they kept saying, hopefully Russia gets it together before the games, because if a gay athlete or spectator gets arrested, shit surely will hit the fan internationally. There's time, but this isn't a good look for Russia. Stick to the fur hats. So this is a very simple-minded, intolerant viewpoint on the matter. Pro-LGBT protesters dump vodka at Russian consulate in New York City. So what they think they're holding is a fist of solidarity against oppression, is really kind of a communist fist, which was used by many rights groups, including the Black Panthers and civil rights. That's what I wanted to point out there, and I'll get to that by the end of the video. The Black civil rights movement is basically the homosexual movement and gay rights and LGBT rights. This is used. Those people are used by the powers that be. To basically create division and basically maintain control, political control, over what you say and what you can do. The Civil War, they talk about, abolition. Well, it had nothing to do with slaves and ending slavery. Abraham Lincoln was even acknowledged that. He was quoted as saying that he didn't matter as long as it preserved the Union. So, a bunch of people died for that, and it had nothing to do with slavery. But people look back now, and that's all they see. Back in the probably I would say by the end of the 50s, that just the way the economy went and just slid down and slithered down into nothing by the 70s, and it was just a rust bucket, that this was all planned. They planned to never have the American economy busting forever. So in order to do that, they had to do certain things. And that's why I believe that the whole counterculture was completely engineered, socially engineered, along with the civil rights movement. That did not come from the ground up. No matter how much people want to believe that, if they participated back and then, I'm not saying that it was a bad thing. That's good that they want to get rights. But these are minority groups that were there to change the order, to change, basically to attack the enemy, which was mostly white middle class people who would actually organize against globalism that was coming down the road, that was going to hand over their jobs. There were some serious things that were going on, especially in the early 60s, that were, that were grassroots about bringing rights to blacks and stuff like that. But all of that stuff was squashed by the counterculture, and it turned it into a hippie drug culture, and it just fizzled. Nothing changed. Nothing happened. And now, what do you have as far as employers? Employers really got screwed out of that whole thing, as far as not being able to hire certain people. If you didn't want to hire someone, you shouldn't be forced to hire them, but now you have to. All right, moving on here. World leaders should unite to end anti-Christian persecution, says Vladimir Putin of Russia. He urged world's political leaders to stop the violent persecutions against Christians that have erupted in many Middle Eastern countries. Well, it's not just Middle Eastern countries. But he noted with alarm that many of the world's regions, especially in the Middle East and in North Africa, interconfessional tensions are mounting, and the rights of religious minorities are infringed, including Christians and Orthodox Christians. He's talking about the Middle East. And then you have that Sheikh Emran Hussein, that his interpretation of something that they called eschatology. And what he was saying that Gog and Magog were basically the Zionist and the Judeo-Christian alliance, which is joined at the hip but will never break. Even though I tried to make a good argument about it before I went on that hiatus, but it doesn't really matter. They were born together, they'll go together. And but then he was saying that this rune is actually Russia. But he was also saying that certain things need to play out for the apocalypse to happen. That's what Christians call it, and he calls it something else, the coming of so-and-so. But, you have the deities actually there. And he says, like JC back walking around near Syria and Damascus. So they're trying to create this scenario. They're trying to fulfill the Bible. Some people believe that this is, it's written in the Bible, so this is coming from God. I believe, and maybe people get angry by this, but I might as well put it out there. I believe that there are false gods, and I think that a lot of what people are worshiping are actually false gods, and that the true God would not want to be worshipped and talk about heaven and hell and rewards and punishment and eternal damnation. I think a lot of this is used for word control. And so I do believe in apocalypse, but I don't think it's going to happen the way a lot of people, religious people, think it's going to happen. It's going to happen because a small group of people are going to play this out. And like Hossein was saying, the Sheikh, he was saying that certain things need to take place in order for this to happen. So, okay, so you can commence to attack me in the comment board, but I really don't care. So it says here, UN launches worldwide campaign for gay rights. The UN Human Rights Office has launched a media campaign promoting homosexual and transgender rights. The year-long initiative, funded by outside sources, raises questions over the use of UN offices for what some governments will consider propaganda. The campaign to cast sexual rights as universally agreed human rights after years of failing to gain government support for homosexuality. Their attempts to legitimize special rights for the LGBTs have repeatedly failed in the Human Rights Council. Another comment, too, that I'll probably be attacked for is, this Human Rights Council, the governing body of the UN office that produced a campaign, and how this whole thing works is that anybody else, whether you're African Americans or Asian or Hispanic, you have the right to try to stop oppression or stand up for the preservation of your culture and your people. But the only ones that can't are white Europeans. Now, I'm only saying this because I'm, of white European ancestry. So, I do have a bias, and I think it's wrong that anybody else can say anything about having, whether it's having some kind of club or group in a college. God forbid if you actually have a white ethno group in college, or have some kind of rights campaign. you know, because then if you do, you're going to be attacked by the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and all those similar Jewish-run groups. People need to realize is that these same people are, quote, white, right? They play the white card. So everything that they do, whether it's slavery, like all the things about slavery, the Jews ran the slave trade. They run the banking scams. They run all of this stuff. They run the censorship. So, you know, they give a lot of whites really bad names, and they're the most racist of all people. Vatican, false prophet Francis to visit city of Jerusalem in January 2014. Pope signals openness to gay priests. The pontiff's comments suggest greater acceptance of homosexuality among clerics. Then you have leftist activists to greet Pope with gay kissing and slut walk protests in Rio. Gay rights and feminist groups are planning to stage protests during Pope Francis's stay in Rio de Janeiro for World Youth Day. He was subjected to the homosexual kissing. It says here on July 27th, showed lip lock demonstrators, some of them topless, while others waved rainbow flags. Also, you had Brazilian feminists planning a slut walk to be staged on the beach July 27th to protest sexual violence against women and control of female sexuality. Why it's weird that the Pope's acting like a Christian, so Christian Powers thinks the other Christian leaders could learn a thing or two. His unorthodox actions, washing the feet of women and Muslims, extending an olive branch to atheists, and so on, and drawing worldwide attention. Says it's wondering if he's the most liberal Pope ever. So also, who am I to judge as far as homosexuality goes? And as far as seeing it in nature, seeing it in indigenous tribes, it's very rare. So I'm not the type of person that pulls the Christian card and says you're going to go to hell. I don't ever want people to think that. But I like to point this issue out because it's a minority issue that is used to create division, and it's used to turn the tribe against itself. That's how I think, right? Because I mentioned this before. Ultimately, I'm kind of a primitive tribalist. I mean, if I had my society, if I could live in, and I wouldn't force other people on it, it would be primitive, anarcho-primitivism, right? So, or tribalism. And I would see this as turning the tribe against itself. Gay marriage is the inevitable outcome of sexual revolution, says the UK Catholic bishop. So the government's gay marriage bill is nothing more than a logical, inevitable outcome of a process that's been gathering pace since the sexual revolution of the 1960s, the English Catholic bishop said in his pastoral letter. For what we mean by matrimony, sexual intercourse, and family life is no longer what today's world, the government, the NHS, policymakers understand by marriage, sex, and the family. Lesbian activists, surprisingly candid speech. Gay marriage fight is a lie to destroy marriage. So, covered this video before, a 2012 speech by Masha Gessen, an author and outspoken activist for the LGBT community. I also believe that she's a Jew. Is now going viral and includes a theory that many supporters of traditional marriage have speculated for years. The push for gay marriage has less to do with the right to marry. It is about diminishing and eventually destroying the institution of marriage and redefining the traditional family, saying the institution of marriage should not exist. I found this a couple days ago. Humans become monogamous to stop basically killing babies. I always have a hard word pronouncing that word, but you know what it means. After you're born, they kill you. Study finds the origins of monogamy aren't so romantic. They discovered the reasons most humans, at least in theory, are so wedded to the idea of monogamy, and the answer ain't true love. They do it so other humans wouldn't kill our babies, according to a new study in College of London. They wanted to find out why some species practice monogamy and others don't, including primates. Body of newborn baby found in trash truck in Kansas City. Police are treating the death of an infant whose body was discovered in the back of a trash truck in Kansas City on Monday morning is likely a homicide. Kansas City police tweeted about the incident, drawing attention to the city's safe haven law, which allows parents to drop a newborn baby off at a police station or at a hospital without the risk of facing charges. Oscars hire Ellen DeGeneres, the homosexual, to replace Seth MacFarlane as Academy Awards host. There's all these reasons why, but the real reason, Seth MacFarlane's Jews Run Hollywood joke draws fire from Jewish groups. Eagles football team to seek outside assistance for Riley Cooper, who recently dropped the N-bomb. We're going to help him fully understand the impact of his words and actions. He needs to reflect. It's all about what you say, not what you actually do, including whether it's animal cruelty like Vic or Terry Jones basically stomping a homeless man's legs, Brown's rookie charged with attempted murder, or Aaron Hernandez killing. It's about what you say. Like Greek athlete expelled from Olympics for racist tweet, or banned for a Nazi salute. even if it's becoming the consensus in Greece. Thank you.